Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone Team. That's better. I can actually see myself now. Uh, West Ham, been mad week, but we're back in action. To my right is Lucas. You know who he is, all the way from the US of A via Maryland. Lucas, how are you doing?
Squinty. If I look uncomfortable or my eyes look shut, it's because the sun is just blaring right on me. If you can't tell, but yeah, everything's fine. Everything's well. Looking forward to Saturday.
Right. Where do you want to begin tonight in regards of what's happened this week in regards of Steiden with Sullivan and most of all with David Moyes?
You're gonna have to start because I'll be honest. Ever since our thrashing against Arsenal and the emotional damage that occurred, I've kind of taken a break from Twitter this week.
Yeah.
I think I've maybe tweeted like 4 times, but which is quite low for my usual self. But I've been taking a little break. I don't really know about any news. I know about one piece of news that's total crap, but that's really about it. So
Mm,
I've only got opinions for you today.
fair enough, mate. Let's start with this then. Moyes must change his ways to save his job. Now, on Sunday, we got our asses completely handed to us. Completely. And after Sunday's performance, I looked at this and thought if he carries on the way he's going, he'll be sacked before the end of the season. What's he got to do to change his ways to save his job? Because at the minute, he's destined to get the sack. Let's put it like that.
Um, where do I begin? It really depends on how you want to look at it because for some people, he's got no way out. He's done. But then you got the other aspect of it where really the only thing that can save his job is obviously results. And
Right.
that's really the only way it can go because at this point there's no turning back on people who are Moyes in, Moyes out, whatever. I think you just no matter what need to get behind the boys, even if you don't like the manager. But for me, we got to get back to defending. I think our defense has been absolutely crap for the past month.
Agree on
And
this.
the goals we concede, I feel like are just absolutely schoolboy and silly. There's not really a lot of times where I feel like I go, you know what, fair play
Uh,
to the other side that scores, and it's quite infuriating. And prime example with Arsenal, 3 set piece goals conceded. That is just completely unacceptable. So for me, I think we need to get back to having a solid defense, and we build from there.
I don't think this defence has really been solid, though. If I'm being honest, there's always been mistakes in this defence. If you was to go through the defence, Kurt Zoom is not a captain. He just isn't a captain to me. I just do not see it with him, right? And when we appointed him as captain, I just couldn't make that one out. Yeah, but I can understand it because he's been one of the longest serving players. Him and Aguerd just don't work. It just don't. They do not work. Yeah, crosses coming in at the weekend. Arsenal are not a team for the giants. Yeah, let's be honest. Their two tallest players are probably Saliba and Gabriel. Havertz may be in there and all. Yeah. Other than that, they're quite a tiny side, and they like 3 set piece goals. It's just
I think
embarrassing from
I think
us.
it's just annoying because our room of center halves right now, they're a bit too similar. So
Right.
like obviously Mavropanos and Agard, quite similar in the way they play. Ogbonna and Zuma, very
Yeah.
comparable, except one of them. Actually, both of them are probably on the same level right now because one can barely move and the other can also barely move, but that's due to age, and the other is due to not having any skin or bone marrow left on his knee at all, or
Yeah.
cartilage. Sorry. So it's a bit tough, but I agree something needs to change, and it's again it's a difficult situation because with the style of play we've seen the last 2 weeks, losing 3-0 and then 6-0, it's just if Kurt Zuma starts, I really don't think we can play the way we want to because he can barely run. If we start Mavropanos and Agard, that's just a mistake waiting to happen. And
Mm.
even if you start Mavropanos or Agard, one of them is a mistake waiting to happen. So we're in a bit of a sticky situation when it comes to the back line. which is not ideal, but something's got to be fixed. I think
I agree on this.
I'm open to any suggestions. I really don't think there's a wrong one. The only suggestion I would probably shoot down is starting Nagard and Mavropanos. I think that'd be just I don't know. That's just not my preference, but I wouldn't mind seeing Ogbonna come in at some point.
I think Ogbonna should come in, mate. If I'm being honest, I'm going to ask you a question. And I asked it last night on the space, and I asked it to you now. Name me the best defensive performance this season for West Ham against what team? Be interesting. And also in the chat, put it in there in the chat. Also, I want to get the feedback on this.
I would have to go look back at the fixture list, but a game that or a match that always just pops up to me is Brighton away. I thought we were really good in all facets, Brighton away, even though we did concede one. I just thought that was, I wouldn't say our peak performance, but
see, everyone is saying Arsenal, right? So why isn't
in the cup or away?
Away. And I've got to be honest, I thought Ogbonna and Mavropanos were very, very good in that game. This is why Moyes has got to change his ways, right? Because if he don't, he's going to be straight out of the LS, like, and his feet won't touch the ground. Mavropanos should have been starting in some of these games, right? I don't understand how Aguerd comes back from the African Cup of Nations and then starts games when Mavropanos was playing, and he was actually playing all right. I can't remember what game it was. I think it was Bournemouth at home. I think he actually had a good game. He actually had a really good game, and then Moyes just drops him out of nowhere. Do you know what I'm saying? For me, I don't want to see Zuma in the team at the weekend. Right, we will get to the team later on, but there's not a chance I want to see that geezer in the team. He's got to earn his spot, and whether he's captain or not is irrelevant to me. It really is. Like, I don't want him just to be there because he's the captain. I want him to be there on merit. Yeah, and for me, he's been absolutely crap. Also, another person that I think's been crap and all, and you can't even say a bad word about him because like people defend him with their lives. Is Sufal. I thought Sufal was awful at the weekend, and he's been awful in a few games. And it's the same ball down the line. It's just the same lofted ball into the box. It's just nothing with him, if I'm being honest. So for me, I want to see Ogbonna and I want to see Mavropanos together. Yeah, they had a good game against Arsenal away, and I think Zuma needs to come out. I really do.
Yeah, it's just difficult, even with, like you mentioned, Sufal as well. Like, it's just he's really all we got, which is a shame, in my opinion. Again, the back line is just so tricky. Like, Emerson is well and truly the only nailed-on player, and I don't even care how crap he was on the weekend. That is probably I can't think of another match where he was that bad. I didn't even think he was that bad going forward, but defensively, probably his worst performance I've seen. But I don't know. Again, I'm open to all suggestions. I really wouldn't shoot down anyone's combination at all, really, besides Mavropanos and Aguerd. And I do like Mavropanos because I think he's a bit better in the air than Aguerd, but I think Aguerd in all other facets is just a little bit better. But again, they're too similar. Like, we really do need a Craig Dawson. I'm missing him right now.
What do you think of Gemma's comment there? Shout out to Gemma.
Do you think Souček hinders the team more than anyone else?
I agree on this.
I don't know. I don't know.
Trying to write this out.
It's difficult because
I think he does.
Can't really say anything about, like, Calvin Phillips should be starting ahead of Souček because you can make the argument Phillips has looked far worse than Souček the past couple weeks. Souček, he just has his role, and he offers what he offers. And in some matches, he looks pedestrian. In some matches, he looks absolutely brilliant. I've never looked at Thomas Souček as someone who, like an Emerson, he's nailed on every single week. I've always thought Thomas Souček's a very tactical player. He's a bit of a specialist, and when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't.
I've got to disagree with you, mate. I love you. You're my boy from the US, but Souček for me doesn't offer fuck all. If I'm being honest, like at
that's
the minute,
just a lie. He does.
If he don't score no goals, what does he bring us? Nothing.
Come on, man. Defends the box well. He's good on set pieces. I know he offers something, but you're saying he offers nothing besides
He
goals.
offers. He offers. It's a cardio session with him every single time. Let's be real, right? If you took him out, put Calvin Phillips in, you would get a better style with West Ham. West Ham are hoofing it up to Souček at times, yeah, because other people can't hold the ball up.
So as of now, would you start Calvin Phillips over Souček right now?
I think changes need to be made. I think everyone was a shambles at the weekend. Like everyone was. Let's be
Mate,
honest.
you cannot justify to me right now Calvin Phillips should be starting over Thomas Souček. And I love both players, but
Right,
there's no shot Calvin Phillips is even, and I love Calvin Phillips and I'm still giving him all the time in the world, in my
right,
opinion. But as of right now, dropping Thomas Souček for Calvin Phillips is a bit meh.
right. So, who is the better player for you?
The better player is Calvin Phillips, but he hasn't shown it.
Yeah, but he can't show it from the bench, can he? Do you know what I mean? Right, he needs to get on the pitch, right? And the problem we've got is we've got Alvarez, who ain't going to get dropped.
He can't show it from the bench, but he's already shown. Mate, I'm not saying Thomas Souček is a world beater by any means. I don't think he's a
Mm,
fantastic football player, but he does offer one or two things that can help swing matches in a positive light and some in a negative light. But Calvin Phillips, even after a week of training, that what was it? I think it was after the fifth goal. There's
right.
a clip of Calvin Phillips pressing, and he just jogs back with his back to the ball.
Let's be out. I know what you're
And
saying, but
I don't care if we're losing 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. Like that's inexcusable.
mm, I don't know,
So
mate. I don't know. I think Souček. I think there's a few of these players that need to kick up the arse. I think they've got it too easy, mate. If I'm being honest.
I agree,
Like,
and it's sad because, and it's and like I mentioned before, it's sad. Just like with Souček, we have zero depth. So like the amount of change that we want or asking for, I don't disagree with it. I agree there needs to
mm,
be change, but you got to be a bit realistic about it because we don't have much we can change. Like we realistically can't drop a lot of players or move players around because whoever you want to bring in is arguably just as bad, if not worse, than what
yeah.
we're putting out there. So, like, again, I'm open to all suggestions. I wouldn't even be mad if Calvin Phillips started over Thomas Souček on the weekend, but it's just a case of like, what has he shown for me to be confident? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what
At
you're
this
saying.
moment in time, I'm a bit more confident in Souček than Phillips, but I'm not opposed to that change.
So I agree with that comment there. Our bench is terrible. Like it really is.
Yeah, and
Um,
that as well. I seen something on the weekend, and no hate towards whoever said it. I don't know the guy, but
right.
to say that we have a great squad, I cannot get behind that at all. We have one of the worst squads
We ain't got no
in the
great squad,
league.
man.
We have,
Nah.
and I'll say it till kingdom come. I'll put
Yeah.
our best 11 against anyone in the world, bar obviously the big boys. But besides that, I think our best 11, we can compete with a lot of clubs in the world. But once we get to that bench, it's absolutely crap.
Yeah,
There's
but
no confidence that I
people
can
have been
put in
saying
any of
that
those
for ages,
players.
though, Lucas. Lucas, people have been saying that for ages. Yeah, and I used to scream it. I used to hear it on like different fan channels. I used to hear it on like so much shit when people say we've got this amazing squad. It's one of the best squads that we've ever had. And I'm thinking, if you look at the fucking bench, that bench is shit. Like Danny Ings does not get in any team in the top 8, top 10 of the Premier League. Doesn't it just doesn't right? He doesn't make it. Aston Villa sussed him out and got him out the door to us. So that just says it all. Maxwell Cornet's another one, and after that, it's like skin and bones, mate. Do you know what I mean? We've got like a player in Cresswell who's been a great
Exactly.
servant, to West Ham, but he's not good enough, right? And he's only here because no one wants to buy him. Do
And
you know
and
what I'm
that's
saying?
one thing. If Moyes were to get past this rough patch, in my opinion, and say he does get an extension, I have never been a huge fan of him keeping such a tight squad. Like he's
I
got
agree.
12 players. he can depend on, and then everyone else. I wouldn't say he shuts them out, but like sometimes he may not give them enough chance. But if he does survive the rough patch, which again I hope he does, because I don't want any manager at our club to fail personally. It could be Rafa Benitez. I don't want him to fail, but
Mm,
that's one thing I would like Moyes to change if he does survive. He needs to expand the squad just a little bit more, because we've got 5
mm.
substitutions now in the Premier League for how long now, and we just never use them, and then we just never can because our quality on the bench is so bad.
Yeah, I hear you, mate. This comment here, I will get to later on. Right, we're going to talk about Sullivan. We're going to talk about Steiden. Yeah, so I will get to that, and we'll also talk about the links with Graham Potter. Fight or flight at Forest. What are you expecting against Nottingham Forest at the weekend, mate?
I saw a tweet, what was it, like 2 or 3 days ago,
Hmm.
about our next 4 and what people are expecting. I really didn't think about it. I just said 9 points to be positive, but I do think we can get something out of this match. But then again, it depends on what everyone thinks. Some people think this is an absolute 3 points. Forest are decent at home.
Hmm.
I think Forest are all right. I don't think they're totally crap, and we haven't been playing well. So to look at this as a must win, or this should be 3 points, I'm not totally on that bandwagon, but I do think we can go there and win for sure.
I
Especially
think
because Forest at home are very aggressive, and that could suit us in
hmm.
counterattacking, absorbing the pressure and all that. So I'm positive going into the weekend. I don't know. I have hope.
I'm nervous on this one. I really, really am.
Who
Yeah,
you telling?
because I am, mate. I am so concerned about this game. Yeah, I really am. Because if West Ham turn up there and they play the same 11 as someone just said in the chat, we're going to get slapped. Like, we're going to get done. Um, Not in the Forest. Oh no, Arsenal. Don't get me wrong, but let's be honest here. Every time we go up to Forest, we have no luck at all. But I can't remember the last time we actually won there. Um, Even when we played them in the Championship years ago, or maybe we might have nicked something up there. But it's always a tough place to go. They're always up for it.
Yeah.
They actually played all right against Newcastle the other week. It really did. And for me, when I look at it right now, West Ham have to win this game. Really, they do. It is like a must-win sort of thing. A draw to me isn't acceptable. We need to start winning games of football. Like, and if Antonio does come back and he's fit and he's on the bench, then that will give us a bit of a sort of platform for the last sort of 20 minutes of the game, because I don't think he's going to start. But the problem I have with West Ham currently right now is I've got no faith, mate. None. I've got no faith in this team that they can go there, put in a good performance, and win the game. It's either a bad performance, win the game. Good performance, lose the game. It's just not clicking
The
at the minute. There's
result
some
right now, in the situation we're in, results are the only thing that matters. So
Yeah,
for me, give me a shit match, give me 3 points. It's as simple as that. And the way I look at it, so we have Forest away, Brentford at home, Everton away,
yeah.
and then who's the four? Oh, is it Burnley?
You got you got Brentford on Monday night. That's next week, and then you got Everton and then Burnley. Yeah, tough.
Obviously, to me, Burnley, I know we scraped past them earlier this season, but that's a must win for me.
Yeah.
Everton away, that one's always a bit tricky. Basically, the way I look at it, Everton or Burnley is a must win out of those 4, and then we have to nab one against Everton or Forest. And
Let
then
me ask you a
whatever we get against Brentford, to me, in my opinion, is a
yeah.
positive, because they always have been a bit of a bogey team.
Let me ask you a question. Where do you get the confidence from in regards of thinking West Ham can win this game? Because for me, I look at West Ham right now and I am nervous because I'm seeing, as I said the other day, I'm seeing us look, we look like we're crashing down and burning. That's what it is. And I'm not like over like doing it or nothing like that. Look at the last few games. The last few games we haven't done nothing in the attacking threat. Like Sheffield United was a 2-2 draw. Was we mugged by the officials? Correct, we was. But did we deserve to win that game? Really? No. The draw was the right result. If we would have won that game up in Sheffield, it would have papered over it a little bit. Yeah, it would have been all like we played badly, but we got the result. And against Bournemouth, when I see people saying that we deserve to beat Bournemouth, that was an absolute nailed on fucking draw. Literally nailed on. Like both teams were. Bournemouth had a good 30 minutes, and after that, we played all right. Got a goal for a penalty, I think it was, and that's it.
For
So
me, to answer your question, where do I see the confidence going into Saturday? To be honest, I don't,
yeah,
unless we're talking about a few individuals. But I don't know. For me, West Ham just always seem to surprise me when I'm a bit down. I'm not very confident, and that's how they typically love to reel you back in, as far as I know. So I don't know. I just feel like we're all there's always a surprise with us waiting to happen when everyone is just really down. And Saturday could be it. Brentford could be it. Everton could be it. Burnley could be it. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm just always, and people have the right to not be confident or think we're going to lose whatever result they're thinking. But I don't know. I just think we have the players to do it. And I'm just hoping that the only thing I hope for on Saturday, just like everyone else, we fight, we play hard. Hopefully, they brush down what happened on Sunday, because that doesn't happen all the time. But yeah, I don't know, and I think our strengths will show on Saturday, especially with our play style. Like I said before, I think Force are going to come out fighting, attacking at home as they always do. We play our best when we sit back and counter, and I think it is possible for us to pick up some points.
I think on Saturday, I think it is a must win. I think there's no excuses now. Yeah, I think after last week's performance, if West Ham turn up there and they get done, yeah, then I'm sorry, but it's slowly fading and dying. It is like this season is slowly fading out. Yeah, because I don't believe that we can beat Brentford at home. I really don't. I've seen nothing to think that we can beat a Brentford side who have got our number every single time. Yeah, but this game on Saturday, West Ham have to turn up. They all have to be on it, and they have to show something for the fans. That's one thing I will say. They have to turn up and show something for the fans, because when people say, "Oh, it don't matter if we win or lose," well, it does matter if we win or lose, because I don't want West Ham to keep losing game after game. Do you know what I mean? And anyone who does want to do that, they need to fuck off, like quite openly. Do you know what I'm saying? Um, give us give us a rundown of your 11 before we move on. What you saying?
Um, of what I think Moyes will play, or what I would want to see.
Let's do what you would want to see.
Um,
And I'll see if I agree with you.
oh mate, it's tough. Areola, obviously to start, he's been fantastic this season. Even against
I
even when we lost 6-0, I thought he wasn't bad at all. He made some really good saves.
agree.
Right back, Sufal's got to play. Ben Johnson is decent as he's been. He cannot play right back. I don't care what anyone says. Um,
Centre halves, what you saying?
oh, there's gotta be a change. So for me, it's either got to be Zuma and Mavropanos, or it's got to be. Oh my god, this
Would
is so
you
tough.
would you go with Zuma and Obama?
No
No.
shot. Unless the only way we go Zuma and Ogbonna, we would have to play. We would have to park the bus. We'd have to.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that's the right move here.
Like, because there's a difference between a low block and parking the bus, in my opinion. I think we could possibly play low block with both of them, but could it
Yeah.
fail and blow up in our face? Absolutely. So, oh my, it's a tough one. I'm gonna come back to that. Emerson at
Right.
left back.
Yeah.
I would go 4-2-3-1. I'd go Calvin, or not Calvin Phillips. I'd go Edson Alvarez.
It's hard,
Oh
mate.
man,
I'm
it
telling
is.
you.
See
It's a,
that's why earlier when you're talking about Suchek and like I'm not totally disagreeing with you. Like I it's so debatable to start even like James Ward-Prowse there as well, even though
yeah.
it's a tough one.
I think
But
he's. I don't think he's been good either, Ward Prowse. I think he's been too safe, like absolute too safe like he's not done a lot really, other than score that penalty the other week.
this lineup is so hard, and really I don't think anyone has a strong idea of what we're going to see. And even if it is a strong idea, how can you back that up and claim it is? Because we've been so crap. So I
Mm.
guess I'll just go off the top of my head. I'll go Areola in goal, Sufal right back. If it were me, I'd go. Oh, I'll. Oh
Make
my
a
God,
decision.
I'll go Mavropanos, Ogbonna, Emerson
Yeah.
left back. Then I'd go Alvarez, Suchek, um, JWP in the hole. Actually, no. Oh my God, man, this is too tough. You know
Right.
what?
Let
No.
me.
I got it. I got it. Screw it. James Ward-Prowse, right CM. Edson Alvarez on his left. Kudus on the left. Ings in the hole. Bowen, or who's on the right? Or no.
We
Oh
got
my
Ben
God.
Johnson.
I can't answer your question. I literally
Right.
can't.
Right. I will do it for you. Right. I will say it. Right. Areola straight away.
All right.
Emerson left. Safal's got to play. The two centre halves for me, Zuma's got to come out. Because I think he was shit the other day. He was that bad. He deserves to sit out. Now, you either go with Abona and Mavropanos or Abona and Aguerd. Yeah. I would go with Abona and Mavropanos. That's what I would go with. They had a really, really good game against Arsenal. They was defensively solid, well organised. Give them a go. Like Nottingham Forest and not Arsenal. Yeah. In central midfield, I would bring in Calvin Phillips because there's got to be a game where he has to play. Yeah. So I'll put him and Alvarez together. Yeah. I'd put Ward Prowse as the 10. I'd have Kudus on the left, Bowen on the right, and I'd go with either Danny Ings or Antonio. If Antonio's fit, play him. Go 4-2-3-1 and attack this game. West Ham need to attack this fucking game. They can't keep playing four midfielders or three midfielders and Ben Johnson on the left wing. It just doesn't work, right? We need to see an attacking threat, yeah? And I want West Ham, I'd rather see West Ham go 4-2-3-1, have a go, and whatever happens, happens, rather than just sit there and just wait to suffer. Because now, right, if we allow that to happen, we get done, yeah, by being stupid when we should just attack Forest. Forest are there for the taking. I'm not going to lie, they're a good side, but we need to be a bit more on it ourselves. Yeah, it's like we're scared. It's like we're scared to commit. That's the problem. And for me, Suchek doesn't do enough. And I think if you've got Alvarez and if you've got Alvarez and Phillips there, I think you've got more than enough to cut enough cover there and allow the front four to go and do their thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see that, and I know you are definitely a risk taker, but at the same time, if theoretically, if this was Moyes' make it or break it match, I definitely wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised to see Suchek over Phillips. Because, like I said, if I was a betting man, not Suchek. If I was a betting man, Phillips has shown me nothing as of yet. I think he
yeah.
will come good, but it is tough. I'm fine with that line. I wouldn't mind seeing Ben Johnson in the midfield with Alvarez, possibly. I don't know, but
Okay. Ben Johnson's playing everywhere, mate. Left
but
wing,
that's
left
another thing.
back.
Ben Johnson might have to play because I don't think he's been that bad. And people will say you're only as good as your last match. I don't necessarily agree with that. When you think of Johnson's last three appearances,
Mm.
he's had one. People thought he was crap last match. I actually thought he was okay, but
He's not a left winger, mate. I had this argument last night on the space. Like when people are trying to,
he's not a right winger, but he played phenomenal there when we needed him.
he's not, mate. I just don't. I do not buy it. I will say that. Right, give us your prediction. What you saying?
I went 2-1 last week. I'll be honest, and people could call me crazy, but I'm assuming there's some athletes in the chat, people that have played at a decent level of whatever sport they played. After
Yeah.
you get absolutely humiliated like that, there's two things you can do. You can either sulk and feel bad for yourself, or you get up, brush it off, and you prove to people that you're not an embarrassment, you're not shit.
Mm.
And I think there are enough players in our strongest 11 that will take the approach that we're not shit. What happened is embarrassing, and I don't want that to ever happen again. So
Right.
I am going to predict. I'm just again. I'll go 3-1 West Ham. I think it will be really. I think it's going to be a grudge match, and I think we'll pull the third goal very very late, very late.
What am I going to go for before we move on?
I want to say 2-1, but I went 3-1. I went 2-1 last week. We lost 6-0, so not predicting that again.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I just don't see how West Ham can win this game with the way Moyes is going to set up. That's the only problem that I have with it. If West Ham go out and attack this game from the front, then West Ham win this game comfortable, in my opinion. But I don't believe they will do it, mate. I believe Moyes will set up in his famous way, and it's going to be tricky. I think Forest are going to try and look to it. It's on the break with their pace. So I am going to say a draw, probably a 2. I agree with what Brian says in the chat there, a 2-2 draw. I'm not convinced with West Ham. I'm not. I need to see something. I need West Ham to show me something in order for us to go right. We are back. They're back in action. Yeah. If they turn up at the weekend, and they get done again.
Even if we win, see, this is why, like, when you were talking about like, if Moyes were to lose, he's done. He's finished. Like, I can't look into the future like that. And even if we
Mm,
were to win, let's say 4-0 on Saturday,
mm,
that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't secure him. That doesn't ruin him. Like,
yeah.
I've always been the type of person, I like to take it like 10 matches at a time, because
Yeah.
you can make such a better overall assessment. Like, you can't be radical or whatever after one match, two matches. It's the season's a marathon, not a race. But again, I don't think it's make or break on Saturday, but obviously if we do lose, it'll make things a lot tougher. The hands around the grip will be tighter, and the pressure will soak in a bit more.
Yeah. I agree, mate. Let's talk about Tim Steiner. Um, with everything that's come out in the week about Liverpool, he's come out with an interview and he's flattered. What do you make of what's going on with him?
What can you repeat that one more time?
Basically, Liverpool are sniffing around him and he's flattered by the interest. But it wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle come in for him now because obviously Dan Ashworth has gone to
Hmm.
Manchester United, I think it is.
So what do I think about that?
Mm,
I mean, I mean, it is what it is. If Liverpool or Newcastle want him, they're gonna have to pay, and I don't know. Again, like, I don't really have a huge opinion on Tim Stein. He's brought us some decent players, but again, I can't call him a success or like cry if he were to leave. You know what I
Do you
mean?
think? Do you think he's been overhyped,
Thousand
Steiner?
percent.
Yeah.
He's
No,
brought. So who's he brought us? He's brought us Kudus. He's brought us Mavropanos. He brought us Alvarez. Which, again, two of those very strong players in our side. Mavropanos, I still think has been an all right player. He's showed some very good performances, some very poor performances. But again,
mm,
Tim Steiden, to me, he's no savior as to me right now. And if Liverpool or Newcastle were to buy him out, I wouldn't be mad.
mm.
I would be more in the camp of like, oh shit, here we go again. We got to find someone new. Just another Aaron to run on our list. But
I remember when someone said this to me, yeah, on a space or I can't remember where I was, but someone said, I've never known it a was it technical director to be fucking so gassed up by the fans, right? For me, you can't judge Steinem right now. You really can't. Yeah, because
I
he's,
agree.
he's only been in the job what 8 months. Let's see what he's like after 18 months if he's still here. Do you know what I mean? If he walks away from West Ham, then we've all been gassing up this geezer,
And
and
that and that's what I'm ultimately saying, because like if you were to break it down right now, I would say a great summer. I thought our summer business was very good, but horrible January. And you cannot. I've always been Sullivan at the top. He is mostly to blame. But if you were to
yeah,
filter blame, you can't put most of the blame on Moyes. You can't put most of the blame on Stein. But if you do put most of the blame on Moyes, you've got to look at Stein because that's his job to bring in players. And what did we do? We brought in
yeah.
Calvin Phillips, and that's it when we needed, at bare minimum, one more player.
And Calvin's not weren't even his player, was it?
Exactly. So if we're going off Tim Stein, he's had a great window and a terrible window.
Mm,
But again, not all of that's his fault, and that's just what it
yeah.
is.
I don't know. I don't know on this one. I think the January window's a collective of everything. I think it starts off at the top, and I think it gets to Steiden, and maybe there's a bit of hostility there because let's be honest, Sullivan pulled a deal for Osmond, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if Steiden walked. If Steiden said, "You know what, I'm gonna go to Liverpool," and he could accept that, then I'll just look at Sullivan on that. I don't look at Moyes. Right,
Yeah, you
'cause-
got. We all know you've got to be an absolute mentalist to want to work for David Sullivan, and sometimes it
yeah.
works. Most of the times it does not. And Moyes has been really the one case that it's worked as good as it can, in my opinion. I don't under Sullivan. I really don't think we can progress in a manager sense or results. Personally, it's just it's a tough one, and I wouldn't blame Stein if he left because Sullivan just makes a circus out of everything when it doesn't need to be.
Let's talk about him then. I was speaking to someone earlier on. They either unfollow you on Twitter, block you, and all this shit because they're all sensitive souls. Yeah. Um. But I'm going to say this about David Sullivan. The issue that we have currently right now with the manager, the fans, is all the reason why it's like this is because Sullivan has sat on his hands for so long in regards to Moyes. I don't think the fan base would be as bad as this if Moyes had 18 months left on his contract, maybe 2 years. Yeah. I think the issue that it is right now is where the contract's winding down and people are seeing the way it's going. When people are mentioning Alonso, Slot, Almerin, all his top managers, yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream. That's the dream that we all want, like to have a top manager at the club. Yeah. David Moyes, I will give him some credit, has done a good job at West Ham. He has, like, from where he was and how he's built us up.
And
Now,
under the circumstances,
under the circumstances of Sullivan. But the problem is, Sullivan is the reason why this has been carrying on for so long. Do you know what I'm saying? This is not a Moyes in, Moyes out thing. You just got to stand back and look at it and go, if you're going to back this geezer and he's going to get offered a new contract, as some people keep saying to me, why have you waited so long? Yeah, because what you're doing is you're just sitting there, you're seeing what's about and what's on offer. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you've got the safe option with David Moyes. That's not backing your manager. That's basically what seeing what if there's a better offer. If you can't find a better offer, you're just going to stick with Moyes. Now, to me, that's not how an owner should work. So, you know, what do you say about Mr. Sullivan?
um, just same thing that we all say. I mean, in regards to Moyes, I think one thing throughout this whole Moyes in, Moyes out thing, I think that everyone can agree on is
Mm,
that David Sullivan, we would respect him a lot more if he made the decision. Like
yeah,
it's just like you said, he tiptoes around every single situation. He always waits till the very last second, and whenever he does wait till the last second, his emergency button is one of the shittiest in the league because he has Salt House and one other agent. He'll just always fall back on, and most of the clients are so crap as in players. That like, and that's one other thing. I seen someone in the comments say that has Sullivan not put his hands in his pockets? He has, but like not in
Edges in though.
not in a fashionable way. Like we could bring in 10 players, but if 7 of them are not ones that Moyes wants, what's the point? And that's happened. There's been players that come in that Moyes absolutely does not fancy, and that's almost like signing no one at all. That's subtraction by addition, in some like in my eyes. But I don't know, David Sullivan. I think the same thing as you. I think he's not a great person. He's a terrible owner. He's really have done one or two things right, in my opinion. The only thing he's done right, in my eyes, is be able to sell Declan Rice for $100+ million, even after us not even being able to soak in the celebrations of winning the Conference League. I still find that a little bit impressive, the fact he was able to do that. And the very next day, he just goes on Talk Sports saying that we're going to sell him, and he was still able to get $100+ million for him. But I mean, he's just crap. He's not great.
Yeah.
So. And we're never going to move forward until he's gone. Obviously.
I agree. I think, listen, people credit him for what he's done at West Ham, how he's turned West Ham into a big, massive franchise. Yeah, that's all well and good. But when you're sort of, people are saying about the money he spent, we expect, the reason why we moved from Upton Park to Stratford was to spend money and beat a big club.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So that to me is not really an argument. Yeah. Have we spent the money wisely? No. I will honestly say that. Yeah. If we'd have had Tim Steidten 2 years ago, maybe things would be a bit different. Right. Yeah. But we haven't. Yeah. And we've spent money and we've had transfers up and down. I think some of the transfers could have been better. Yeah. I really could have done. But also, I think Moyes has to take a bit of accountability for that. I ain't going to lie. I think when you have a player, you've got to work with a player. And if you, like with Moyes, he doesn't really work with players. That's the one thing I will say. He's got his favourites and that's it. But going back to Sullivan, for me, yeah, this issue with Moyes should have been sorted out in the summer. It really should have done. Like, to sort of grind it down to a halt. And let's be honest, if it goes to this summer, and just to say for argument's sake they come out, because I don't think he's going to get offered a contract in season right now. I think he's going to be judged on what he does from now to the end of the season. I think if West Ham get in Europe, I think he might get a new deal. Yeah, whether or not he accepts it is another thing. But if West Ham slide and West Ham end up 11th or 10th, for instance, I don't think he does. I think it's that black and white. Yeah. So for me, when I look at it, if it does come to the end of the season and he offers him a new contract, why have you wasted away our fucking time for the last year mucking about when you could just offer him a 2-year deal last season and stopped all this animosity? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No words then, Lucas. No.
No, I mean you said it all. I can't really add on to that. Like, I don't know. Just one thing I think everyone could have respected is that you move on after winning the Conference League, because it just would have left on a high. But I still don't disagree with keeping him. It's just, I don't know. Just everything has been said. The same opinions get said. It's just like, and you're not going to change anyone's mind. So I've accepted that, and I can't get into any more arguments. It's just not for me. I don't got time for that.
I know. I'm going to get to a few questions. Why are you guys crying now? Didn't you say West Ham will finish above Spurs soon? With 3 laughing faces. But we did use in your own gaff last year. So just remember that when James Ward-Prowse hit the post, it come out and he put in a tactical fucking goal, yeah, in your own gaff. And we've won a trophy. So come back at me when you are the champions of Europe, Jason, the Spurs fan. Thank you very much. Right. In regards to Sullivan, everyone knows how I feel. He's a wrong un, but it is what it is with him. I will say this. Right, final one. This man is getting mentioned quite a lot today. Graham Potter, yes or no for you? If Moyes was to go, Lucas, could you have Graham Potter's football at West Ham United?
Like on a personal level, like my preference.
Go ahead.
My preference, yes, but to others, I again, another thing that's been annoying me about Twitter, there's been so many people contradicting themselves, and I don't have the time to argue it. Like, I've seen shouts for Graham Potter, I've seen shouts for Thomas Frank, and I don't get it because they all carry almost the same philosophy that Moyes does, but just in different formations. And they have little tweaks, obviously. But like
Mm.
those two names mentioned to me, I really don't think they're like forward steps. I would really like us to be ambitious and try and go for someone. Like I've seen people say no to Jose Mourinho, and I kind of get why, but there's people that would rather have Graham Potter than Jose Mourinho. And I'm not saying we can get Jose Mourinho.
Mm.
But like, I don't know. Everyone's opinions and preferences are just a bit contradictory and weird. But Graham Potter for me, I'm actually a huge Graham Potter fan. Um, I would take him at West Ham, but I'm not saying that's a step forward or a step back. I think it is a bit of a step sideways. And all those people complaining about wing backs, five in the back, yada yada yada,
Right.
what Moyes did, Graham Potter is literally going to do the same exact thing. It's going to be a bit like Warburton ball, where we're going to have a lot of possession, but we might not do fuck all with it. So, again, like some of the preferences and shouts I've seen from people who I would say traditionally are Moyes out and don't like his style of play, it just doesn't make sense with some of the shouts they're saying.
Mm.
So, a yes for me, but again, that's not like a yes, sign him up right now. I think he'll be a sideways step if I'm being honest.
I agree. I agree on this one. For me, I'm not convinced with Potter. I really am not. I think when I look at West Ham right now, where West Ham have been, I think West Ham need to be aiming higher than Graham Potter. Yeah. I look at people like Gary O'Neill. I see people in the chat saying about Mourinho and things like that. I'm not on the Mourinho vibe. I think Gary O'Neill, sorry, is at his level. He's at his level with
I
Wolves,
love
right?
Gary O'Neill as well, but I agree 1,000% with that.
Yeah, right. He's at his level, right? So when I look at a manager to take over West Ham to take us further, yeah, I don't see it with Michael Carrick, who's struggling in the Championship. I don't see it. I think these are all appointments that you would have made after Pellegrini. Yeah, not now. Like I think now, after what Moyes has done, you need to bring in a manager that's going to take us up. Now, whether that's buying someone out of their contract, so to speak, going out and getting a slot or an Almarin. For me, Almarin's the guy. You pay the money, you get the geezer here, yeah, and you invest in him for the next 5 years. Do you know what I'm saying? But we ain't going to do it because it's West Ham. And like as I said, and I've always said this, that with our owner, you don't buy no one out of their contract. So for Graham Potter right now, he's the perfect man for Sullivan. Now, the reason why I'm not really on the Graham Potter vibe because the structure that he had at Brighton was very, very organised. Well, West Ham are not organised at the minute. Let's be honest. Yeah. The youth setup was good. The structure was good, and also the owner invested in the plan and the project of
Brighton
what.
is one of the best ran clubs in the world.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And for me, I've not seen anything of any note to suggest that if Potter was to come in, West Ham would go like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm all for the youngsters giving a go and everything, but even at Brighton, yeah, it's Brighton's a different level to West Ham. West Ham are up there, and Brighton are just below us,
Yeah,
and we should be aiming higher.
I just like I said with Potter, I just think I don't again, I just think his style of play,
Mm.
it's a bit similar to Moyes, but like I said, he's got a few of his tweaks. He does like to have a bit more possession, but then again, like it was almost like with Warburton, we were playing five, whatever you want to call it, wing backs, 3-4-3, whatever. Like Graham Potter does a similar thing with wing backs, and he likes to have possession. And I don't know. watching Warburton ball the other season was absolutely horrendous.
I
And
agree on that.
people complain about possession and all that. I'd still rather watch Moyes ball than that. That was dreadful. I don't want to see my players kick the ball back and forth to each other for 70 minutes and not score. I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely dreadful. But I will give someone a bit of a compliment in the chat. They mentioned something about Thomas Frank and how good he is with squads. I totally agree. But if he were to come to West Ham, we would have to get a squad first. And with David Sullivan, we are not going to gather a squad. He's going to get, at best, a best 11 and maybe 2 more players. Thomas Frank works well with 15, 16 players. So, again, and maybe he could get the most out of some fringe players, but again, Thomas Frank, I don't think he'd leave Brentford. But maybe he could if he sells, or if they sell Tony and he gets to play with all that money. But I don't know. Again, it's just, in my opinion, the managerial search is a bit bleak because I do love Moyes, but if there's someone better out there, I definitely want him.
Can I ask you a question? Right, because I just saying you just said, who will pick the next manager for West Ham United? Will it be Steidten?
I hope
Or
it's Steidten.
Or would it be Sullivan?
It'll be like 70. It'll be like 70-30. Like David Sullivan at the end of the day. You would think Tim Steidten would have the power because he was hired for a reason. You know what I mean?
That is comment of the night. That guy owed 100% of it at West Ham, right? And he's, if I remember right,
but then again, that's the thing. I don't disagree, but you also got to look at the other side of the coin. Would he want us? I don't think Nagelsmann would touch us with a 10-foot pole. I truly don't. And I'm not saying that because I think he's too good for us, but like someone who's managed Bayern Munich, the German national team, I personally can't see it. But I'm to answer your question, I think it will be Sullivan, but I think Steidten will have his input, obviously, because Sullivan has hired Steidten to be an important part of the club. But I just the track record, I'll believe it when I see it, is what I'm saying. And I hope Steidten is the one, because I do think Steidten can progress us. But I don't know. The managerial search is tough and bleak because I truly do think there's a lot of sideways options available to us, and it's going to take a lot to get someone a bit above our pay grade. Like, I would be all for Xabi Alonso. I've seen a lot of people beg for him, but you have to be realistic to a point. You got to be realistic.
If West Ham go and get Xabi Alonso, then that'd be unreal. It'd be unreal. Let's be honest. I'll be thinking, now we are cooking.
Even Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann would be a superb addition. Like, whether you like his football or not, like, that's up to you. But just the fact that we can pull someone like that, that could set us up for the future. Saying that we can pull managers of that pedigree.
There's got to be standards at West Ham, though. I think when people say Michael Carrick, Gary O'Neill, that's not the standard for me. There really isn't. That's a mid-table standard for me, right? Where I want to see West Ham be a top 10, top 8 standard. So with standards, you're gonna have to go out and get a manager that can fit that criteria. Gary O'Neill for me isn't the guy, not yet. Anyway, let him have a few seasons with Wolves and see how Wolves do. Now, Thomas Franks is an interesting one, but yet again, you take Ivan Toney out of Brentford, they're bang average. They are, like, literally, like, you see Ivan Toney come back, he starts scoring goal after goal from him, and he's going to keep them up now. Yeah, but before, when he weren't there, they were all over the place to a point. Don't get wrong, they signed some good players, but their model is like sign young, sign these sort of players. They've even planned and like signed their striker for when Tony leaves. That's a well-run club. And for me, I just don't see it with Thomas Franks. I've not seen enough to warrant thinking, you know what, could he come to West Ham and do an amazing job at West Ham? So when you start going out of them sort of positions, then you have to look at the people who are not available currently. Yeah. Almerin would be the guy for me. I've always said about Almerin for the last 2 years. I said he's the one. If Premier League can attract some of the best managers from around the world, yeah. If West Ham was to go and get Almerin, I guarantee it. West Ham will get Champions League within the next 4 years. Yeah, because he would build a side. He worked well with young players, and he's a top end manager. Like
I'll say this: if a new manager does come in, realistically, you've got to give them time. But again,
yeah,
if Moyes has done what he's done for us, and he's being hounded out, why should not why should we, but like, what gives the new manager a right to have 4 years? You know what I mean? It's contradictory at its finest. And I'm not saying I wouldn't give him time, but like it's a mess.
But as Moyes come to the end of his time at West Ham, though, Lucas,
I don't know. I know that wasn't really like a question, but like you would have to ask me at the end of the season.
Because the issue is, if Moyes gets us into Europe, it's a catch-22. Do you get rid of him and bring in someone who can sort of maintain this over the next few years, make other players better? What I don't understand with currently right now with the manager side of things is I've got no faith that it's going to be Steiner who's going to do the manager, who's going to go out and handpick the manager. I always believe that Sullivan will have the final say on it.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
I do as well.
And that is the problem there. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I think once Sullivan does leave and goes and says goodbye, then I think if you get an ambitious owner, then you get an ambitious manager. And I just think West Ham right now, if Graham Potter becomes if Graham Potter becomes West Ham's manager, I just think it's like it's gone up a little bit, but not by a lot. Not by a lot. In my honest opinion.
If people want to see that Warburton style of ball again, I don't know what to tell you. I personally cannot take another season of that.
Yeah, that was an absolute nightmare.
And again, I like Graham Potter. I actually like the way he plays football, but again, you've got people that moan about wingbacks.
Yeah.
And then you got people that they want possession, but we do nothing with it. That's the catch-22. If anything, like me personally, and again, I will always put West Ham over my personal preference because I want the club to succeed. I don't want to be proven right. I want West Ham to prove me wrong, right, whatever. I want the club to succeed. I don't care about my own personal preference, what I want to see. I just want to see us progress as a club. But
I'm going to ask you something. Do you think
what am I clutching at straws at, man? Please let me know in the comments. Let me know.
We will get to the questions in a minute. Do you think he gets offered a new deal, Moyes?
You'd have to give me some sort of scenario because right now I can't. No one can answer that question.
Right, I'll give you a scenario. If West Ham finish 9th this season, does he get offered a new deal?
Do we make it to Europa League final, semi-final? Do we lose in the round of 16?
Right, let's say we lose in the semi-final. Yeah, even though I don't think we're going to get to the semi-final, I think we're going to get knocked out in the next round. Right, but just say we get to a semi-final, we lose, and we finish 9th. Does he get offered a new deal for you? Do you offer the geezer a new deal?
Depends with that Europe spot because we could see top 8 could finish with a European spot, maybe 9th. I'm not sure with all that news, but if we get into Europe, I think you've got to, in my opinion, it depends. If it's a conference, I think you could get away with moving on to a new manager because even though I cherish that trophy with all my heart, it'd be a lot easier to manage, obviously, the Conference League than Europa League. But say we were to get Europa League again, I think you've got to keep Moyes, especially if you want to keep seeing European football. And for me, as a fan, my preference, I want to keep seeing us playing Europe because it has brought some of the best times in my life. I'm literally going over next month, and I'm potentially going to hopefully 2 European away days and hopefully Dublin. But it depends. Ninth, I don't know, but if we get in Europa League, I think you keep them. If it's Conference League, I think you can move on.
I actually agree. With you on that. What you just said there about the Europa League, Conference League. I think you can build with a new manager with the Conference League. Like I think with the Europa League, I think it's very hard to get rid of him, isn't it? Let's be honest. If he gets us, say we finish 6th this year, yeah, say or 7th, right? But I say we finish 6th, and he gets us in the Europa League. It's very hard to let him go.
The sun has finally gone away. Thank God.
I know,
I'm all good now, people.
You're back, but I don't know, man. I don't know. For me, I don't think he gets off of a new deal, mate. I think it's going to filter out this season. I think we're going to have all this backwards and forwards for the next 3 months, and in the end, I just think it's just going to be like I don't think Sullivan's going to do it. I think Sullivan's going to go out and try and get a Potter or fucking Steve Cooper and any luck. You know what I mean? But it's what it is. Right, chuck your questions in. Any questions for me or Lucas? Chuck them in. We'll read them out, and then we'll wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. 6. Finish 6. What? I'm trying to be optimistic, but I do agree with you.
We really need Liverpool to win that League Cup badly because if Chelsea win it, that is a huge spanner into the pile for us. Because if Liverpool win it, that'll just keep bumping it up, or any sort of Europe, it'll keep bumping up. We really need to support our English clubs in the European competitions this season. Because, like I said, and you got to think about coefficient as well. That's going to come into play. What I heard. So, hey, if we can finish top 8, top 9, and get Europe, I wouldn't say that's successful. I don't know. I'd call that a successful season for me if we get back into Europe. But again, I don't know if that totally warrants Moyes to stay or not. For me, I'd say I don't know. Again, you'd have to come back to me at the end of the season.
Kieran McKenna at Ipswich. Why?
I don't believe in it.
Do you know what? Listen, obviously, my missus lives up in Suffolk, yeah, and obviously I drink a lot of boozers in Suffolk. A lot of Ipswich fans in Suffolk. And they can't rave about him enough. They really can't. I was in a pub the other week, not far from our house, and basically they said that he sort of transformed Ipswich into a side that like is like a possession-based pass move, very, very good. And they know that he ain't going to be at Ipswich for long. They reckon within the next 2 years they can see him moving on. So I don't know with him. I really don't. I think is he another manager that's lower end?
He gives me Carrick vibes 1,000%.
He does.
And again, we're all talking personal preference here. Like, again, I just don't find that style of play like entertaining for me. I don't care like how much ball we have or how many passes we make. If we get opened up on the counter, we can concede 3.
Yeah.
Like if we lose 3-2 every single week, that I'm not going to be happy with that.
I know what you're saying. Unsung Sport. I did message you earlier on, mate. I hope you're well. We have the smallest squad in the Premier League, the oldest squad in the Premier League. We need 7 to 8 new players plus more. What do you make of that comment, Lucas?
Well, the first statement seems like a fact. The second one seems like a fact, and we need 7 to 8 new players plus more.
I think it's bang on.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad, but then again, it depends on the types of players. Because I mean, we can't bring in 7, 8 first team players. There's going to be lots of unhappy players. And
what do you make of it in regards of, before we wrap this up, in the summer, for instance, and I'm looking a bit far ahead, and obviously we've got a lot of football to play, but in the summer, how many players do you expect West Ham to bring in? Like, really?
It depends. Obviously, you got to look at outgoings. You would expect Cresswell to leave. Sufal could be shipped for all we know. Johnson could be shipped for all we know.
Yeah.
Fabianski could be gone. Antonio could possibly be gone. Like, we don't know. So it really depends. And then it depends on the manager we get in. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I love Moyes personally. But if there was one thing I could change with his approach, it would be to expand his squad a little bit, and that depends as well. So it depends on the new manager, or if Moyes survives and what's the word I'm looking for? Sees new ways. And It depends on who leaves. But I mean, 7 to 8. I like seeing signings. I like seeing announcements. So why not bring him in?
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I agree. Hopefully, we get some players in the summer because we're going to need them. I'm going to wrap it up there, people. Lucas, been an absolute pleasure, mate. Saturday, after thought player ratings, are you available? Are you about?
I will be. I'll be live and direct from my. I think me and some of my mates are going to be in the same room watching our respective clubs play. So I'll be in the station, what we'll call it.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Hopefully everyone else is there and all. Please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to E20 Zone TV, and hit the notification bell. People are saying I'm a bit depressed because I can't see West Ham winning the game. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong at the weekend. If West Ham turn up at Forest, I would eat humble pie. I'm a fat bastard. I would eat it. But I am nervous about the Saturday against Forest. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a big game. I think if we carry on going the way we're going, this meltdown is just going to end up intensifying, and God knows what else is going to happen. Do you know what I mean? But West Ham need to turn up at Forest. No more excuses now. I don't want to hear no more excuses. No fucking about. We need to go there. We need to win. Yeah, we're a big club. We need to turn up there and act like one. Yeah, we are champions of Europe. So act like the champions of Europe and go there and get the job done.
Be professional. And I got into who was I talking to? It might have, I can't remember, but I know our players are people at the end of the day, but they're professionals and they need to act like it. That's all it is at the end of the day. You got to move on from what we saw on Sunday and be professional. And being professional would be to move on from that horrific showing.
Yeah.
And you play with some fight, and you fight for the badge. You not only fight for the badge, but you fight for one another.
Fight for the badge and everyone. Yeah, mate. I totally agree. So what Lucas just said there, fight or flight. I want to see plenty of fight from this team on Saturday. And I hope on Saturday night, 5 o'clock, 5:15, after the game is done, I'm sitting there doing an afterthought and everyone is happy, with the result. If West Ham don't get the result, though, I do fear the worst. But anyway, that's enough from us. Have a good Thursday evening, and I will see you Saturday afternoon. Take care of yourselves and each other.